What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Dylan Talks Tone. So I just got back from Colorado, and one of the things that happened in Colorado, so for those of you that don't know, we make pickups here at Dylan Talks Tone, and we actually use Mojotone pickup winders. This is my oldest one. That's why it's all dusty and dirty. This thing has got thousands of pickups, probably 5,000, something like that, wound on it, and it's my old and trusty faithful. I've actually got 3 of these things, and I had a newer one. This is the one that I was keeping out in Colorado because we've been doing those classes out there. I had a newer one that I bought for here, and when I got to Colorado, it was dead. I don't know why. I'm not really sure. I've never had a problem with it. It was my newest one. For some reason, it showed up in Colorado. I mean, I took it out there with me, just checked it in a Pelican case. Everything's totally fine. I've done this before, like a bunch of times, and I get out there and it's dead. And so I put a message into StewMac, and literally, because I bought this at StewMac. It's a Mojotone product, but I bought it at StewMac. And the next day, they're like, you know what? We'll just send you another one. So even though it was not a StewMac product, they still honored the lifetime warranty thing, which I thought was really cool. I was not expecting that. I figured, maybe I'll send it back to Mojotone. They'll send me a new one, or they'll repair it, or whatever. I wasn't really sure. So as soon as I just printed out the return label, I shipped the bad one from Colorado straight to Ohio, where they are. They sent me another one out, and it was waiting for me by the time I got home. The service from StewMac is just unbelievable. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like spending money on StewMac tools, but I cannot tell you how worth it is to me that they support their products that well. And that's not the only experience I've ever had, but on a $600 piece of equipment, I was not expecting that kind of service. So, and they didn't pay me to say this. This is not a sponsored video, anything like that. No, we do have an affiliate link. If you use those links in the description, it does help the channel out. So I'm going to plug StewMac for sure, but that's legit. Like, there is nothing, I mean, anyway. So what I was thinking I would do is I'd take the opportunity. I did cut the box open. I started cutting the box open and take it out of the box the other night, and I'm like, you know what? We're going to do this on video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to unbox it, and then we're going to get it out, and I'm going to show you kind of the first initial setup that I do with a pickup winder. If you've never used one of these before and you're kind of wanting to get into the hobby, or even as a hobbyist, I know it's a little expensive piece, but it's worth it. And I'll tell you why. Let's get this thing unboxed and set up. All right, so let's just get this thing unboxed. So, here's the box. And here's the winder itself, and then it's going to have some pieces that come with it that we'll get into, and we'll also drop on the floor. All right. Yeah, I've done this before, and it looks about the same as the last time. All right, so I guess, first of all, we've got this envelope. In this envelope, you're gonna have some user manual. Now, the user manual is pretty cool because it will teach you how to program banks. This winder is capable of programming various wind counts and directions and that sort of stuff. And I'll tell you about the specs of it too once we get into there. And I think there is a wrench in here. 2 wrenches for the setup of the winder. So let's go ahead. We'll change views a little bit and I'll show you what we're up to. All right. So take this thing out of the bag. Put it on the desk. Now, here's a couple things. It's got bolt down tabs. But I don't like to bolt the thing down because I use my bench for various things, and you may not have a permanent setup for your bench either. So I'll leave a link in the description to these silicone mats that I got on Amazon. They're super cheap, and it makes it to where the thing doesn't slide around, because when this thing is spinning, obviously the centrifugal force and everything, it'll move around a lot, or it can move around a lot. So you could tape it down, but I really like just putting it on a silicone mat and it doesn't slide around. Okay, so it'll stay kind of flat there. Okay, so first things first, this is going to come backwards. So this is our guides for our pickup wire. And so we need to pull this out. So what this is this is our guides. There's a flat side on here and there's a round side on here. And these are in the wrong place because they've just been assembled a certain way. So I like to set these set screws to the flat side so that they don't spin around while we're using them. And there's another reason for that as well. So we will put these here, and then this will actually go in the other side. This will come in here. Now, you don't want to have the flat side up. You want to have the flat side down, but I like to put it basically like flat, kind of parallel with the desk. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. Or maybe actually, I take that back. I like to tilt it back a little bit. So maybe put the flat side like 45 degrees this way, and I'll show you why. Okay, well, it doesn't need to go in very far. I only put it in that far anyway. But what I like to do is have this kind of on an angle, but it won't move very easily today. There we go. About on a 45. Something like that. What you want is when the wire is coming off the spool, or coming off the spool and onto the pickup, it's going to be traveling over right here. So you don't want that flat spot. You want the round spot, okay? But what you also don't want is you don't want the bolts to be directly underneath the machine. Otherwise, you won't be able to get to them like this to adjust them as you're changing pickup types. You don't want them all the way around the backside like this because it'll just be a pain. So I put that flat spot, it's about 45 degrees. The wire will never hit the flat spot in this position, but you will also still be able to, like I said, get to the bolts, the set screws, to be able to adjust them conveniently. And you'll see once we start winding what I mean by that. All right, the other thing we need to do is put our mounting apparatus onto the machine. There is a shaft. This is the motor shaft on the bearing, and there is a notch in it that the set screw for this slides into. And I like to put it all the way on. So you'll have to probably screw this out so that it goes on. Go like this, put it on, and give this a bit of a tighten. You might even want to put, I don't know about Loctite. I worry about Loctite because I want it to be serviceable. However, I have had this vibrate loose and slide off while you're winding, and then it screws everything up because your limits are out of whack then. So there you go. There is that setup there. Now the way this works, it's kind of cool. It's a double action deal. So if we just loosen this up, I'll show you the couple of setups that you can use here. This is the type of setup where you have a humbucker or a P90 sandwiched in between these two pieces, okay? So what you'll do, I'll tell you what, let's grab a humbucker bobbin and I will show you. So what you'll do is you'll take your humbucker bobbin and you will put it through these holes like so. And you know what I like to do? I like to take a Sharpie on a new machine. I like to take a Sharpie and see where that center hole is. I like to make a mark, probably in black, in a different color, but this is the one I had handy. Right there, and spin it around and make another center line mark right there, okay? Use a black one. I just didn't have a black one handy. So that you can see that. So then, do that on a new machine. So then, when you put your bobbin on, you can make sure that you're centered so that it's not too far this way or too far this way, right? So you can actually center it like this, okay? And then on the other thing I would do on a new machine is see how this channel is, it's a channel of aluminum that's made for like putting over strap pickups where the magnets stick out. If you put this onto a bobbin, you could scratch the top of the bobbin. So all of my channels have tape on them, masking tape, that I replace about every week so that when you put this channel on top of this bobbin, it does not scratch it, so that you can hold this bobbin in place like so, and you clamp this down and it stays in the right place. But if you don't put tape on it, you risk scratching the bobbin. Boom. Like so. So now the bobbin is on there and it's ready to wind. Now, the other thing I like to do is I like to take a straight edge and line it up right here. In fact, I can just kind of demonstrate this. Like so, more or less, to the inside of this bobbin. And that'll give me generally where I want this inside guide to be. Now, this is not, you have to adjust this, right? Like as you start winding, which we'll do in a minute, but there's your inside guide. And then of course you'll adjust your outside guide as you start winding, but that it's basically ready to wind at this point. So what we'll probably do is I'll go ahead and get a wind, a pickup ready to wind. Oh, you know what? Let me show you the Strat style first. How you mount a Strat style or Tele style bobbin. Here's a Tele neck pickup bobbin. So then what you'll do is you'll thread on the screw kind of way up here like this, or the knurled nut way up here like this. And then you'll take your channel and you put it on here like this. And then usually most of these fiber style bobbins have a hole in the middle. And you will line it up like so. And then that hole right there then lines up like so. And then you tighten this down and it will not spin. And that is how you affix that style of bobbin to the machine. A couple other things that I will point out before we actually fire this sucker up is this is where your 24-volt power supply plugs in. This is a run stop 1/4 inch and this is a speed. So there is an attachment, an accessory for this that you can put this on a foot pedal. I do not like using a foot pedal when I wind. I actually just like using my other hand to control the throttle. So that's just not my, it's not my gig, but if you wanted to, you could do that. A couple other features about this thing. We have a gauge meter on top of the pickup winder. I never use this. I actually have another gauge meter that I use. I'll leave a link to it in the description. It's a handheld thing with a probe that I really like a lot better than this. I've just never really found it to be, I don't know. I've never really got good consistent results out of using this gauge sensor. So I actually just use the one that I've got. I'll show you a still of it in the video right here. And then I'll give you a link to it in the description. All right, so now we've got our winder plugged into the power supply. We've got it on our bench. Now I typically like to have my winder sit about maybe about that far. Yeah, kind of about that far from the edge of the table. I tape down the front edge of my mat so that I don't have any snags or anything, and my hand sits right about here. And then what we do is we go ahead and power this baby on. And I'll just give you a little run through of the controls. So here's our speed. It's actually not going to do anything right now. We have a program, we have a run stop, we have the Gauss meter thing that I never use, but these are kind of double function buttons. So let me just run through how I set a wind count. So let's go program. Don't use the last turns. We can choose counterclockwise or clockwise. So you can flip it back to clockwise here, or you can go counterclockwise here. This is like a toggle up and down button. Hit program again to select, and then go up to whatever wind count you want. So let's just go up to there. We're not going to use more than 500 winds, of course, but I want to demonstrate how the winder works. So once you've selected your wind count, you just hit the program again. Use presets. We're not going to use presets in this time. And once it gets to here, it shows you that you're at 0 speed, you're at counterclockwise direction, and you're going to wind 509 turns. So once you do that, then you hit the middle button. And once the number moves up to the top, now you're ready to wind. And as soon as you hit the gas, it starts. And if we had wire on there, we'd be winding a pickup right now. We are at very slow speed. This thing will wind, I believe, 1800 RPM, which is right there. And it will continue until it will get down to 0, and then it will stop. And that right there, folks, that right there is what happens when you don't tighten up your bobbin correctly. Well, there is the first afternoon of winding with the new winder, and it's pretty sweet. We did a bunch of P90s and some tele sets, and it's pretty killer. So hopefully if you are looking at one of those, or you have one, it gives you a little bit of an idea setup wise, and some little tricks and stuff, you know, as far as the tape on there and various things like that that I've figured out over time. Like I said, this is my third or fourth one of these. Well, besides the failure, this is my third one that we have 3 going all the time, and they work really, really well. Thanks to StewMac for being so awesome about the return. This is not sponsored by them. Obviously, I paid for all of these. I did get one on sale. There's a link in the description. If you use that link, it helps out the channel. But anyways, you can use that link below. I'll leave a link to that winder and a couple of the other tools that we use here every day at Dylan Talks Tone. If you want to see more about winding stuff or some of the other tools or other processes, please let me know in the comments, because maybe we'll make some other more specific around the shop videos, a little more informal like this. These are kind of fun to make. Thanks for hanging out. Hit the subscribe button and the like button, and we'll see you in the next video.